Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, welcome to Business Innovators Radio. I'm your host, Ken Sherman, and today I'm talking with Steph Rae with United Brokers Group. Steph's a real estate professional working with buyers and sellers, primarily in Chandler, Arizona, but also across Maricopa County. Today we'll learn about a specific group of prospects Steph helps, and about her experience in real estate through one of history's most tumultuous times. Welcome to the show, Steph.
Hi, Ken. How are you today?
Doing great. So, Steph, tell us a little bit about what led you into real estate as a career.
Well, it's a long story, Ken. I come from a 20-year background in technology services, and I was on the road quite a bit, and I had an elderly mother to take care of, and so I did some soul searching and needed to spend less time traveling around and spend some time at home taking care of things. And so I did some research, and I love people and I love homes, so I decided that I was going to go get my real estate license. And I did that right at the time I graduated. I took my test, and right about the time that the market was going crazy and things were happening quickly and the bottom was falling out of the market. So tough time, but I was committed to getting into the real estate business. Just started, talked to a lot of folks about real estate, and found a lot of help along the way. And it's been 10 years, or almost going on 11 years now in August. I've never looked back.
So let me get this straight. You had no experience in real estate, but it's something you were passionate about, and you left your career in IT to be at home more with a family member that needed your help. And you started your real estate career right at the edge of when things just sort of fell off the cliff. Most people would start something like that, and when they saw that happening, they would jump ship. They would go to a different career. They would find something else. You survived a tough time in real estate here from '06 to now. What has the growth of your business been like over that span of time?
Slow but steady, just like the turtle. I found, it just took a lot of dedication. It took a lot of preparation and planning as far as budgets go, because any good realtor will tell you the first 3 to 5 years you're not really making any money. And I did come from a position where I had a 6-figure income, and my husband thought I was crazy. But I found people to partner with and in the industry to help me along my way and teach me. I went after folks that I thought really were dedicated to the profession and could give me great advice. And I just found out that basically if you need help, all you need to do is ask. And I found a lot of folks that were willing to help me. I just got in there and started working with clients, learning about the business, educating myself, and doing the best job that I could for them. And through that process, they provided me with referrals and business leads, and just kind of started growing the business from there. I have a few great lenders that I work with, title companies, any kind of service provider that I could find, just so that I could be well armed in my tool belt to help individuals the best that I could.
So after 10 years, you've kind of got a group of people around you that you work with pretty commonly, and you've really got this sort of fine-tuned, like a well-oiled machine, I would imagine. Again, surviving that period of time when the market just sort of tanked has been pretty impressive.
I just want to provide them a smooth, seamless transaction. And so, I found a lot of help along the way. A lot of people encouraged me. There were times when I would get down when things weren't going so great, but I definitely had a group of folks in the industry as well as loved ones that really encouraged me to go for it and just put the work in, and it started to grow, and it's been amazing.
I talk to a lot of business owners, successful people out there, and one common thread I always see is that they had a mentor or they had somebody that helped guide them along. So reaching out for that help is so important to success. Let's talk a little bit about your clients. Describe your perfect prospect for us.
My perfect clients are people that are in some type of life transition. I really do this job because it brings me a lot of joy and satisfaction. I feel like I'm making a difference. Everything is a transition when you're choosing to either sell or purchase a new home. I look for people who are in life transitions. They're goal-oriented. someone who appreciates and is going to learn about the process. I love helping women because I do think it's a market that is underserved in this industry. And I think women have a tendency, depending upon what their situation are, not to really stand up for themselves and advocate for themselves. And so I really find a lot of pleasure in helping, somebody that maybe is going through a divorce or maybe a widower, someone who's just having problems in their life. And so that's kind of my, perfect client that I can really go and serve and do a great job for them and get them into a home.
So you act as sort of a mentor or a guide for them in your field. People going through transition, are they any different than anyone else that might be moving? Because I would imagine just moving in general is really a transition in life. You're talking about more of some personal issues or things that are outside of the real estate transaction that are causing them to have to move or have to buy a new property. Tell us a story about how you've helped someone like that.
Well, I have several clients like that. My first client that comes to mind is a Canadian couple who their lifelong dream was to own real estate in Arizona, and I was contacted by them through a referral. And they came into town. We found them a great house. They were really happy. They got to spend about a year and a half, roughly, visiting the state. And then I got a phone call one day, and the gentleman had passed away suddenly. And the lady really didn't know where to start. She did not want to keep the house because it caused her too much emotional pain. And so she called me, and we started at step one and went through the process, and I guided her and helped her and kind of went the extra mile for her since she was so far away. And then, had her come to town and spent a lot of time just helping her disperse the assets in the house and getting her a good qualified buyer and making sure that, the stress from the real estate transaction didn't further aggravate her emotionally or cause her any additional stress.
So really sort of making the transaction seamless for someone that's dealing with something like that. It's got to be a big relief for people in that situation.
Absolutely, absolutely, and she was so appreciative, and it just, I was so sad and heartbroken because I do make friends with my clients, and I care about their lives, and I care about what goes on, and so it was a really difficult time, but, a little bit of compassion goes a long way, and people really do appreciate when you can help them and walk them through the process, set their expectations, and lower their stress level.
Sure. So, Steph, tell us a little bit about you. What sort of specialized training have you had in real estate?
Well, in the 11 years, you don't learn everything you need to know right off the bat, and sometimes it's experience-based, so you run into specific situations. Every transaction is a little different. The property is different. The people are different. And so I try to keep my education level up, so any classes that can help my knowledge or my clients. I am a member of the Phoenix Association of Realtors. They offer, we're bound by Code of Ethics. They offer quite a bit of education. After being an agent for a while, I did decide that I was going to further my education by getting a broker license, a real estate broker license, just to be more educated and knowledgeable for my clients and for my own confidence and make sure that I know that I'm serving them well. I do have a lot of business background in risk management and negotiation that I bring from my previous career, so I try to keep on top of the tactics and the education as far as that goes. And then I'm really interested in green building. I think that we're just at the tip of that particular industry where people are finding it more beneficial to both the environment and to their pocketbooks for energy efficiency and just using, we are in Arizona, the Valley of the Sun, so solar is big, but there's some other things that you can do to make your house more efficient, less harmful in the environment, and so I really enjoy just continuing my training in all of those areas.
So how do you help your clients?
I help them through a process of listening, number one, to what their needs and their wants are, and then I educate them. I educate them about the process of purchasing real estate. I educate them about the pros and the cons or the risks that may or may not be involved. I walk them through the process, and so, I let them know what that process is going to be, set the expectations appropriately, so when and if something does happen, because it usually does, they're prepared and it doesn't cause a lot of stress on them. And so if something unforeseen happens, we have it covered, we've talked about it, and then it isn't such a huge catastrophe when and if it does happen. I also make sure that all of their questions get answered, no matter what that is. I try to connect them with the services, such as financial services and title services that they're going to need, just to make sure that, they have a seamless transaction and that they're happy and, that it doesn't cause them a lot of stress in their transition. I think it's important because, with the, emergence of all the internet sources, it's easy to look for a house, but I think that people that are not in the industry think that they know what the process is and what the pitfalls are and what the risks are, and, I think they know that, but I like to tell them that I solve problems that they didn't even know they had up front. I like to help people just because it brings me personal satisfaction. I think there's so much bad service in the world today, and I just really want to see, I care that they're taken care of. They're making a huge decision, usually spending a lot of money, and, it's important. Home is one of the basic needs, right, where you lay your head at night, and so, why I like to help people is I want to make sure that, they're getting the expertise that they deserve, and that they're going to have a home that's going to serve them for years to come and their families and where they can build their life.
Let's talk a little bit about Steph Rae. What personality traits do you have that you think serve your clients well or serve you well in your business?
I think I'm a great communicator, both verbally and in written language. I think I'm very process-oriented, and so I like to walk people through the process so that they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. I think I'm conscientious, so I follow up with them. I'm always going to, either answer the phone or get back to them. I am very meticulous in the details. You are writing a legal contract, which a lot of people don't, they kind of fluff that off, but it is a legal document. It does come with consequences if you do not perform on the contract, and I think a lot of folks kind of overlook that. They just sign the paper and they go on and they don't understand what their rights are or, what kind of responsibilities they're taking on, and so I try to boil that down to a common understandable denominator for them so that they understand and that they can move forward.
You mentioned that the real estate process can be fraught with pitfalls and obstacles. What are some of the obstacles and pitfalls and maybe even concerns that your clients have, and how do you help overcome them?
Well, I've seen quite a few pitfalls. People are people, and so they don't always do what they need to do. Also, they don't know everything that they need to know. I've seen problems on financials where all the information wasn't given and they get, they go through this process, find their home, and then there's a problem with the financing. I try to help them through that. We look for other alternatives. So, there's more than one way to get through that obstacle, and condition of property, location, all of those issues, not understanding really what they're purchasing or what's involved with purchasing the home. I had a gal one time, she wanted to sell her home. Product of divorce, she had a home that was way too big for her, and she had been in the home for quite some time, and when we got to finally find her a buyer, some title issues came up, and the current title company didn't want to, insure the title to the home, and that just put a stop to the transaction right there. And so I used somebody from my team, my resources, and called them up and said, hey, here's the problem that we have. There was a lien on the title that she was not aware of, and walked her through that process, and I got my folks involved, and they were happy to help her. We worked through it. It was a very lengthy process that we had to go through, but we instructed her on the steps that she needed to take. She did those things, and then we got her deal closed. We got her house sold, and she's moved on to a better situation for herself.
What are some other obstacles and pitfalls or concerns your clients have? For example, Some people want to try to sell their house themselves. They think, oh, I'll save the commission money. Do you think that's a good idea?
I don't think it's a good idea unless they are a real estate professional. There's a lot of laws in real estate, and in Arizona, everything is governed by Arizona law because we sell real estate the way that we do without a lawyer involved in Arizona. A lot of people don't know, they say, oh, I'll put my house on the market and I'll sell it myself, but they don't really know the laws and what they're responsible for. They don't really understand how a buyer's mind thinks. They don't understand what points are negotiable and not negotiable, and I can show them most times on paper that I can pay for my own services through the higher price that I'm going to yield for them other than them selling it themselves. And so I see that consistently and I've had clients like that. I go to talk to them and they're like, well, that's a lot of money. I think I'll just do it myself. But until they really get into the throes of people coming to look at the house, putting together a contract, negotiating a deal, they don't really understand that it's not as easy as it appears, especially if you have some of those pitfalls with title issues, financing issues, things like that. So I would encourage any for sale by owners talk to a realtor, understand what we can do for you and the services that we provide to make your life easier, and negotiate for you to get you a better price and more money in your pocket.
So what's the risk if a prospect doesn't work with a highly trained real estate professional like you? What could happen?
Things like disclosures, they don't know that they had to disclose a certain problem, and let's say that they managed to find a buyer that is willing to purchase the property, and let's say that a month from the time that they sell it, there was a latent defect and the owner hasn't disclosed it. They can find themselves being served with a lawsuit for disclosure. Just the keeping on top of the communication of how the process goes, once you find the home, then the work really starts where you go through this process of getting the money, the financial situation, and you really have to keep on top of that because sometimes things happen in people's lives, and if you're not really tuned into the type of things that could happen, you could spend a whole lot of time and get yourself into a whole lot of trouble and then be back at square one anyway.
I want to go back to sort of your perfect prospects. You mentioned people that were in transition, people going through a divorce or through a death in the family. Why do you think you zeroed in on that market specifically? What about that prospect is attractive to you, and what has made you sort of specialize in that niche?
Well, I think, number one, that market is underserved. I think there's a lot of folks out there that don't come at this career with a feeling of compassion towards, you really, in real estate, you have to put the client first. And sometimes, I have seen folks not really helping the individual get through, specifically women. They have a tendency to, just like when you go to buy a car, right? They don't really want to talk to you, or they think they can pull the wool over your eyes. And so I enjoy making sure that the people that are in those situations and sometimes emotionally attached to the property or have some other stressor going on in their life, you really have to understand, what's happening with them to really get them to where they need to be. And I think that market is really underserved. I also think that, women in general don't have a tendency not to speak up for themselves. I enjoy being that advocate for them and telling them, no, this is not the right situation, or this is not a good situation for you. And so it really just brings me a lot of satisfaction knowing that I did the best job that I could for them.
Clearly you're an educating advocate for your clients' stuff. I'm curious, if somebody wanted to work with you or had questions about your services, how would they reach out to you?
They can reach out to me several different ways. The first way that, is always the best is to call me at 602-315-9576. They're free to email me at stephrae@cox.net. That's STEPHRAE@cox.net. Or they can find me on Facebook at Steph Rae Homes, Phoenix area real estate. So they can search for me in any of those places. But the phone call is really the best place to start because that gives us an idea of what their situation is, how I can best serve them. If it is a situation where maybe I'm not able to help them or maybe I'm not the best resource to help them, then I commit to finding them that right resource.
Great. Well, Steph, thanks so much for being on the show today. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to talk to us a little bit about you and your business and who you help. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.